Beep beep beep, mother flowers. What's going on, guys? Chicane back in with a brand new video. We are here for our FIA Nations race around Dragon Trail Seaside. Not the normal edition, but the reverse edition. So honestly, I really enjoyed the reverse edition. One of my favorite tracks on the game. It's just something about it, just the uniqueness of it. It just brings so much character to the race. And not only that, it also calls for a lot of wacky, crazy races. As again, we are running the FIA Nations Cup race, so we don't have to worry about manufacturers. We decided to go with the Aston Martin V12 Vantages. That was one of the fastest cars on this race, but other people were using the McLarens, the Corvettes, and I believe the Toyota as well. But I decided to go with the Aston Martin because I just felt a lot more comfortable with the car compared to the other ones. So before we jump into it, if you guys really enjoy the content, please subscribe to the channel and leave a like on the video. It really helps out the channel when you guys do so. Anyways, that's enough promoting myself. Let's jump straight into qualifying. Now, as we jump into qualifying here, we are coming to our first flyer lap as we are currently in 6th place. Going right over the start finish line, we get promoted into 5th place as we get a 139 flat, but it actually was not good enough for a good lap time as we get demoted back into 10th. Going for another lap here as we get a 138.8, and that's only good enough for a 9th place currently as we only have 7 seconds left in the qualifying. Fastest guy right now was a 137.9, so we were about almost a whole entire second away from pole position. But qualifying gets completed here as we now jump into the intro, and we're going to start this race in 9th place. As the strategy here, we were given the mediums and the hards, but the hards were the required tires, so we're going to run the mediums for about 2 stints as they only last about 9 to 10 laps, and the hards last about 1 to 2 laps. Well, they don't last about 1 to 2 laps, but we only want to run them for about 1 to 2 laps. And then the fuel consumption was pretty extreme, but you can make it to the end without having to come in and topping off with fuel. But we're just going to do some fuel saving, avoid all the collisions, all the penalties, and most importantly, avoid the chicane of death. So can we do that now as we jump into the race? Now, as we jump into the race, we get our 3, 2, 1, and we are a go now. So we are following the Canadian in 8th place. Following him down the straightaway, leading us into turn number 1. We are just keeping an eye on all of our gauges here as we're just looking at our fuel, making sure that no one's going to come into the inside as we cover the inside here, going to turn number 1. Going into the left-hander, we're able to hold our 9th place position as we get a little bit loose coming out of the corner, but nothing too bad on our part as the Canadian ahead of us is swerving left and right to get some heat in his tires. We're going out to the inside of the Canadian, but we decided to back out of there as we're heading to chicane of death for the first time. Take it very easy. You can see it already claims 1 person, 2 people as we get around the Canadian. We are now promoted into 7th place as we easily get 2 positions because of the chicane of death. Going to the replay here, the GTR just slams into the wall, goes straight into the left hand side, and then you can see the Canadian ahead of us ran into the outside wall, gets punted by the Corvettes, he unghosts himself, and we are promoted into an easy 7th place position without doing anything as we come into this awkward left-hander. So coming to the awkward left-hander turn, we're setting our sights now on 6th and 5th as again we just had a really good first lap, and we were unfortunately able to hold with them, but we weren't able to get really close to them as we are now coming out of turn number 1 on lap number 2. So coming to the second time with the chicane of death, is it going to claim any more victims here as we're coming into it right now? We make a little bit of contact with the wall, but it doesn't hurt us too much as we're just taking it very cautiously, and luckily we're able to get through this without any incidents as we now come to the awkward left-hander. Coming to the left-hander right here, you can see there's a car that's out onto the distance and he's in the apron right there as he actually gets a 2-second penalty, so not sure exactly what happened as we come into the replay. You see there's the Aston Martin, goes into the inside, tries to make a dive bomb move into the inside, misjudges braking, and just punts out the black Aston Martin as he goes into the apron, gets punted out again by 4th place, and he gets an undeserved 2-second penalty as I honestly don't know how he got a penalty for that as he's the one that got punted out straight into the apron and then got punted out again when he tried getting back onto the track. So very just interesting things coming out here with the penalty system as we are coming to the penalty zone. The Aston Martin in the black is going to have to serve his penalty here. He serves his 2-second penalty, and are we going to be able to get around him as we come into the straight? Yes, we are. So luckily for us, we're able to get around that black Aston Martin, but there's another car ahead of us that's got another penalty, so not exactly sure why he's got that penalty, but we're going to see if we can catch up to him and get him also in the penalty zone here as we're coming to the chicane of death now on lap number 3. Heading to the left-hander, there's actually 2 penalty zones on this racetrack as one of them is right after this awkward left-hander and then the other one's right before the straight on the end of the lap. So coming to the first penalty zone right here, You see the red car has to serve his penalty, and we're able to get really close to him now as we're making a move onto the inside, going to the inside right here as we head into the S's, and we're able to get the overtake done, and we are now promoted into 5th place. So starting in 9th place, we're able to make 4 positions because of other people's misfortune, whether it was crashing into the chicane of death or getting a penalty, and we are now promoted into 5th place just by running our own race, and now setting our sights again on the 4th place driver as he's kind of going away from us, but we're able to keep in distance with him. But unfortunately, we're not getting pressured from the car behind, as there's actually 2 cars on their back bumper as we're heading to the left-hander. Coming to the hairpin right here, he's able to make the overtake on the inside, so we have to give him the spot on the inside as we can see the position. Going back into 6th place, that actually loosens us up a little bit as we go into the grass, and that's now giving us under pressure right here from the 6th place driver now, and it's the black Aston Martin that had a service penalty a little earlier as we make a little bit of contact with his back bumper. But at this point, I was just a little bit worried to see if I was going to get a penalty, but fortunately we did not, as we now jump into lap number 7. So coming to lap number 7, coming out of the S's right here, 5th and 4th are battling with each other, as we are just going to follow right behind him and just see exactly what happens, as easily one of them can make contact with another one and get a penalty there, benefit us, and we can get another position here as we are now coming into the chicane. So coming into chicane here, we're just following them again as we're going to get closer and closer to switching out our tires. We are running the mediums right now, so around lap number 9 or 10 we're going to have to switch them off and either go onto the hards or to the mediums, as these tires only last about 9 to 10 laps. So again, our strategy, again, 2 stints on the mediums and then 1 stint on the hards, as I think that's what everybody else is going to be doing here too, as we are now coming out of the chicane of death. So jumping to the awkward left-hander, there's actually a car that goes back into the racetrack, makes contact with the blue Aston Martin, and it's actually the green regular Aston Martin that I'm not sure if he got hit out or if he just missed his braking zone, but you can see the result right there as we are now in a 4-car battle for the podium here, as we are following these guys into the S's. Coming to the S's, we're staying right behind the 5th place driver as he is trying to get into the slipstream of the Canadian ahead of him and trying to make a move onto the wherever, inside or the outside, as we're now coming out of the S's here. He's going onto the inside of the blue Canadian, takes a look, but backs out of there as we are all going into this hairpin single file. Staying right behind them again. Don't want to get too close, because if I get too close to these guys ahead of us and I accidentally miss my braking point or they brake way too early, I can easily run to the back of them, and that's going to be disastrous for our races. We're going to get a penalty because of that. So again, just biding my time, trying to avoid making any type of close racing right here, as again, I do not want to accidentally run to back one of these guys and get a penalty, as we're now coming down into lap number 9. So coming down into lap number 9, you can see a couple cars are actually coming to the pits, so a little early for my taste, but that's their strategy here. So one of the cars actually runs into the wall, into the chicane of death, and it's the blue Canadian Aston Martin, as we are now easily able to get into the podium now, as we are coming into the awkward left-hander, setting our sights now on the black Aston Martin. We're getting closer and closer to him as we're staying on his slipstream, and we're going to have to come into the pits this lap. So we're going to see where we come out here, as again, 2 cars ahead of us actually came into the pits the lap prior, so not exactly where they're going to come out at, if they're going to be able to overtake us because of the undercut, or if they got into some traffic, got into a battle, and slowed themselves down, as we are now coming to the pits. So coming to the pits, we're going to switch off to the hards, as we decided to make a last-minute audible, as a couple of other cars ahead of us actually went from the mediums to the hards. Coming out of the pits, you can see that we are still in the battle for 3rd place now, as there's 1 car less in this battle, as that was the one that got taken out by the chicane of death. And we are again in 5th place now, as we are just following the 3rd and 4th place drivers. They're going side by side now down the straightaway, leading us into chicane of death. What's going to happen here, as one of them has to back out, as again, you don't want to go side by side into the chicane of death. It's just too risky, but going single file is going to be the best move there, as we are now coming out of it and heading to the left-hander. So coming out of the final corner, leading us into the straight, one of the cars ahead of us comes into the pits, and he's going to actually switch off from the hards to the mediums, and we decide to stay out here, as we're going to run another lap on the hards, as I felt really comfortable with this tire, and I thought to myself, okay, if I can run an okay lap here and then switch off to mediums, I can give the mediums a little bit longer or a little bit shorter of time to just push as much as I can and see if we can get this podium, as we are now coming out of the pits in 5th place, right behind the 4th place driver. So coming out of the pits here, back in 5th place, 4th place is right ahead of us, but not sure exactly what 3rd place, but you can see it right there out a little bit further. He's actually really ahead of us, so he was able to undercut us, get a really huge gap going on, and we are now demoted into 5th place, as we are setting our sights again on 4th place and see if we could just push the tires as much as we can, try to get as best of the lap times as we can, and see if we can catch up to him, as we are now on lap number 15. So on lap number 15 now. We're getting pressure from the car behind us as we run a little bit wide on the S's. We actually make contact with the wall. We spin out, and we make an easy mistake right there as we go straight into the wall. Now trying to get back onto the racetrack as we are swerving left and right because the rear tires are just so lit up. And we go back to the replay here to see what happened. You can see we take just a normal racing line, but we just go a little bit too wide, get a little too happy with the throttle, take ourselves out, head straight into the wall, and then just try to get back onto the racetrack as we got overtaken now by 2 or 3 different cars. Now a 4th car as we are demoted back into 10th place. You can see the Corvette gets a little bit loose coming out of that corner, and we are staying right behind him now as we are in the slipstream of him and just seeing if we can get around him here as we do not have any more pit stops. So maybe one of these guys, you know, only did a double stint on the mediums and they're gonna have to come into the pits right here, but we're gonna just see what happens here as we are staying right behind the Corvette, staying in this slipstream, and just gonna get around him hopefully as he actually comes into the pits here and is gonna switch off from the mediums, I believe, to the hards or maybe another set of mediums. But we are now promoted back into 9th place as we're trying to catch up to these guys ahead of us. So coming into lap number 19, we are coming to the final lap as one other car has to come into the pits ahead of us. So he must have ran the 2 mediums and then was going to do the hards for the final lap. But you can see how much closer we're getting to these guys ahead of us as I'm just keeping an eye on the fuel. As you can see on the bottom left, the fuel meter is just blipping in and out, in and out. 7th place actually goes a little bit wide, heads straight into the grass, into the wall, loses momentum. You can see how much time we're gaining on him as we are now coming into the chicane of death for the final time. Coming to the chicane of death, we take it very, very easily as we don't want to make contact with the wall. 7th place almost makes contact with the wall, and we are actually getting closer and closer to him as again we are in the slipstream right now, heading to the awkward left-hander. Brake as late as we can as we make a move on to the inside. Are we going to be able to make the overtake as we are now ahead of him? But he actually gets a good exit here as we're going side by side, drag racing to the S's as we head right underneath the Pirelli sign. Who's going to win this drag race going into the S's as he's now on the inside, getting a good run, able to keep it onto the inside, and we fall right behind him now as we are in the slipstream and see if we can look for another opportunity to try to make an overtake on him as we get a little bit loose coming out of the S's, try to avoid making contact with the grass and spinning out again. But we are unfortunately losing time to 7th place as we are now coming to the hairpin for the final time. Coming to the hairpin, we go in a little too hot as we get really, really loose coming out of the corner, and you can see how much time 7th place is actually gaining on us now as he's getting closer and closer to the 6th place driver as we head into the chicane one last final time. Heading to the chicane, we try to just push as much as we can, but unfortunately the car was just not cooperating with our driving, and we are not going to be able to get the 7th place finish, but at least an 8th place finish, so 1 position ahead from where we finished. But just very disappointing as we probably could have finished in 5th or 4th place, especially after spinning ourselves out, crashing into the wall, and we could have gotten a lot more points on this race as we do only get 174 points added to our Nations Cup standing. So a really wacky and crazy race as Dragon Trail Seaside, whether it's the normal version or the reverse version, always brings some crazy races. That's one of the reasons why I really like this track. But again, the Vantage was just so good around this track, and I just can't be more disappointed within myself because again, I was the one that kind of messed up the race for ourselves and just threw it away for a good finish on this race. So coming home with an 8th place, it could have been a lot worse, especially with everything that happened, but I guess I'll take it. We did finish 1 position ahead of where we qualified, but just so frustrating because we could have finished in 5th or 4th. But again, we're going to try again next week and see if we can get a better finish in the future FIA races. So I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. If you guys did, please subscribe again and leave a like on the video, as it really helps out the channel when you guys do so. And if you guys found this video entertaining, I hope to see you guys on the next one. Peace out.